weight gain, and eating disorders. How did the phenomenon come about? Many people compensate for an emotional imbalance by eating. This is because most people associate food with something positive and rewarding. The origins of this go back a long way and begin in infancy. When a baby cries, it comes to the breast and is fed. At the same time, it is held lovingly in your arms and thus also gets physical closeness. This interaction leads to a feeling of comfort and security, which causes our body to release happiness hormones. In addition, breast milk already contains polysaccharides. This is why even babies associate the sweet, sugary taste with something nice. This is the first positive association with food. Furthermore, children are often rewarded with a sweet treat or punished for not eating a certain food. For example, many children are given a lollipop for being particularly well behaved, or they are only given a dessert when they have finished their plate. Another classic pattern is that parents calm their child down in the short term by giving them something to eat. Conversely, children are not given dessert if they have done something wrong or have not finished their food. Our eating behavior is therefore shaped by a multitude of individually varying learning experiences and usually has deep roots in our subconscious. Although the individual thought patterns and learning processes differ from person to person, they have one factor in common: the connection between emotion and food. Food intake in the context of certain feelings is not a new concept. As early as the beginning of the 20th century, the topic of emotional eating was discussed in scientific and psychiatric literature. Stress has always seemed to be the number one trigger for eating against the feeling of hunger. In today's society, being stressed usually has a negative connotation. However, the feeling of stress as such is a mechanism that has developed over the course of evolution and was essential for survival. When we are stressed, the stress hormone cortisol is released. This leads to the areas of the brain that are responsible for conscious action being blocked. As a result, the brainstem, which acts impulsively and instinctively, acts first and foremost. For example, the reflexive flight instinct was not blocked by time-consuming, deliberate thoughts, and we were able to get to safety more quickly from danger, such as an animal or an attacker. Stress has therefore ensured our survival. Although we are no longer hunted by wild animals today, we still experience stress just in a different form. Stressful situations can be triggered by time pressure, pressure to perform, or relationship problems. For example, the triggers for feeling stress have changed, but not the effect that stress has on us humans. Some parts of the brain are still blocked, and the brainstem still has the upper hand, so we tend to act on instinct when under stress. In addition, blocking the corresponding areas of the brain leads to a reduction in the ability to perceive certain sensations, including hunger and satiety. So if you are stressed, you are automatically more instinct-driven and then resort to emotional eating without much thought in order to supposedly feel better. With this in mind, we usually eat more high-calorie snacks such as potato chips, chocolate, or jelly babies during exams. For example, another example is the short lunch break, inserted between two appointments, during which you eat a greasy burger or similar takeaway because you are too stressed to have a healthy lunch. In these cases, you don't eat solely or at all because you feel hungry, but because your body is signaling danger and wants to survive the threatening situation. Another aspect is eating out of boredom. Although in this case you don't directly experience a negative emotion such as fear, frustration, or anger, a feeling of boredom can also lead to a kind of stress. Along with boredom, many people feel a certain emptiness within themselves. This feeling usually has negative connotations, so people want to fill this emptiness. In this context, people often resort to eating. Backgrounds for emotional eating. Physical hunger can be satisfied with food intake, but not the emotional hunger that lies behind emotional eating. Emotional eating serves as a kind of substitute satisfaction and compensation strategy. An underlying problem causes you to feel stressed, but you are reluctant to look at the actual problem. So you resort to a short-term solution and try to make yourself feel better or an emotional level by eating. The negative emotion that arises is not expressed, but swallowed as the person is afraid of confronting the generally difficult issue. This process often takes place on an unconscious level. I was afraid of it because I knew there was an area where I had supposedly safely packed away everything I didn't want to feel, says Sigrid Ladowski, who struggled with obesity and binge eating for years. She confirms that food served as a kind of medication for her when she was feeling bad.